Pranamami Haripriye, Pranamami Haripriye, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Shri Gauri Vaishnava Guru Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaura Madhava Ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sannyasi Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanand. So, good evening everyone. Nice to sit with you all, and as I mentioned earlier tonight, we'll just take questions. Any questions? Yes?
So we hear a lot that Prabhupada tells us that we shouldn't worship the demigods. And then in chapter 8 of the Nectar of Ocean, he says that everybody should worship Lord Ganesh. So I'm wondering, is Ganesh different from the other demigods? Is he more special? He can help Krishna's devotee better than the others?
Good question. Dilemma, huh? Apparent contradiction. Of course, it's mentioned in the Gita that the worship of the demigods is for the, what is the verse? Yanti deva vrata devan pritrin yanti pritrin yanti pritivata. Alpamedasa. Anyway, Alpamedasa means small intelligence. This is just the opposite of the Sumedasa, famous verse of the Bhagavatam, describing those who in Kali Yuga worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the yajna of Sankirtan. So two opposite ends of the spectrum here. Sumedasa and Alpamedasa. Alpamedasa, less intelligence, because in Karma Marg, which this refers to, the path, if you will, of material acquisition, we approach God for things, for acquisition. Karma is Rajaguna, so it's about material progress, going to heaven, attaining a better situation, changing the political landscape is all Rajaguna. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but in the overall larger picture, it falls short, and those involved in that, and with that quality of intelligence, qualitatively, it's less intelligence. We can have geniuses in the political field, for example, or even in the scientific community, where science is done with a view to improve the human condition, which isn't a bad idea, but it can only be improved so much. And if our entire preoccupation is with improving the human condition alone, even our efforts to improve it can end up damaging the human condition. Recently, for example, in China, it's been reported that some Chinese scientists did some human GMOs. So they tried to take the human embryo and genetically engineer the embryo in such a way that if the child was born from that, it would be protected from certain diseases, just like Monsanto's does to certain seeds, and then well, it could be problematic. It could cause other problems. These are ethical problems, moral problems, and it could be very practical problems. So while it's important within some measure to improve the human condition, even with regard to ourselves in a life of devotion, there's scope for that within limits. We sometimes probably would often say, you're not the body. And so that's true. But in another sense, you are the body. You have a sadhaka deha. as a devotee. Mahaprabhu was told Sanatana Goswami that when, at the time of initiation, one gets a sadhakadeya and it is chidandamoy. That means it's chidandamoy in progress. There's a kind of a Catholic, to use a Catholic term, transubstantiation that takes place. Particularly, this is described at the time of the graduation, if you will, from sadhana bhakti, which is when initiation is complete. Initiation diksha comes under the categories in the category of sambandha gyan. There's sambandha gyan, abhideya, and prayojana. So the conceptual orientation that fosters a certain action, which would be the abhideya, that results in a certain fruit, the prayojana. The fruit, of course, is love of God. The action is bhakti. And there's a conceptual orientation to that. There's a certain kind of knowledge, in other words, knowledge about Bhagawan and the difference between Bhagawan and the Paramatma and the Atma, or the difference between the Maya Shakti and the Tasta Shakti, difference between the Tasta Shakti and the Swarup Shakti, and all such things that constitute kind of the knowledge, if you will, of bhakti, out of which the action of bhakti follows, and the fruit of bhakti, if you will, is attained, which is more bhakti. So initiation is part of sambandha gyan. So divya gyan is imparted at the time of initiation, and in the form, for example, of the mantra. And in time, the mantra rises and reveals itself, and the sambandha gyan that may also be given theoretically through siksha, eventually, gradually turns into realized knowledge. When the sambandha gyan is realized, then this sadhana bhakti is complete. One enters into bhava bhakti, which we've been discussing in the evenings here of late. And in bhava bhakti, one's bhakti is fully informed. Bhakti needs to be informed. Like any action needs to be informed. All actions are informed by some type of knowledge. So, you can be informed theoretically, and your intelligence can be engaged and arrested in such a way that you, with consistency, I'm answering your question. Don't think I'm not. It's a little bit roundabout, but with consistency, and then taste will come, attachment, and in bhava it's fully informed, because in bhakti we're trying to establish if you will, a relationship with Bhagwan. So in bhava bhakti, this affinity, sentiment, it's the bhavankur, the sprout of a sthayi bhav, which defines a person in the spiritual world. The sthayi bhav defines him. I'm a friend, I'm a lover, I'm a parent. It's a defining emotion that is also augmented by other emotions and so on and so forth. But it's a defining one, and it's when the sprout of bhava becomes mature and flowers, this is called prem. So the sthayi bhav has a condition in bhav and a condition in prem. And in prem it becomes rasa. And in rasa, all the different ingredients, sthayi bhavs, sattvika bhavs, anubhavs, vyabhichari bhavs, udipana bhavs, they all become one. They all become unified into one. This is called bhakti rasa. So this is then prem, so from bhava to prem. So according to our conceptual orientation, and we're going to act and so forth, we have a particular conceptual orientation in Chaitanya Bhakti, and it's for very intelligent people, a certain quality of intelligence. We may think, well, I'm not very intelligent, I didn't do good in school and so forth, and you may have someone in the material world who's very, very bright, scientific person like Stephen Hawking, or is his name Stephen Hawking?
Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking.
About the history of time, incredible, life. but it's intelligence aimed at improving the human condition largely. He had some flirtation with Eastern philosophy and so forth, which is notable because it is that place where more than anywhere else, the Western modern scientific community has turned, if anywhere, outside of itself to get some insight about consciousness. It's been to the East. Now, not that much, and much of it may be dismissed and so forth, but it's made some converts also. Schrodinger was a Vedantist, whose famous cap, what was it called? Schrodinger's cap. You know, that's another subject, but he was a Vedantist by persuasion. Unfortunately, not very much by action. In theory, he believed. Of course, as we said the other night, don't tell me what you believe, tell me how you spent your money. That's what you really believe in. And what you do, and the action, in other words, speaks louder than words. Mahaprabhu taught this. We should teach by precept, primarily. And he did. One of the few Gita slokas cited in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Krishna in the Gita says that whatever a great man does, others follows. And he's underscoring this point. Action speaks louder than words, more compelling. Words for the devotee should also be there. He or she should be able to explain the teaching, but to personify it in everyday life, this is also important, more important. So there may be people in the world with big intelligence, but their intelligence is aimed at improving the material condition as a goal unto itself, and while there's some scope for that alone unto itself can become very problematic. You could create, a GMO, genetically modified human being, which another word for is, of course, Frankenstein, and he was a problem, and so you don't know. Ralph Nader, a politician, some years ago said the idea of tampering with the nature of nature is problematic. We may, I think his idea was, we may and have to work with nature in different ways. So you might take, for example, a peach and a plum and put them together and get a nectarine. That's different than tampering with it. That's like bringing a couple of, blind date, you've arranged for a plum with a peach, why don't you guys go out tonight and see what happens? It was nectar, It was nectarine. So, but tampering with the nature of nature, it brings up, questions, and you can't do away with God, is the point also. You can't do away with God, because God is the person that makes nature the way it is. So if we start doing it, then we are the gods. So you can't get around that. You can't do away with the God. We'd rather have the Krishna God than some of those guys in the white jackets. They may be able to manipulate nature in interesting ways, but they don't necessarily have the kind of kindness, compassion, love, affection, beauty, charm that we find in Bhagwan. So, very intelligent people, but the quality of the intelligence is the question. So it's the Rajasic type of intelligence that's different than a Sattvic type of intelligence. One of the characteristics of Sattvic intelligence is the inability to tolerate the idea of living in a world that doesn't endure. This is Sattvic. Sattva means also existence. Sattva is that quality of intelligibility by which a thing makes itself known. It's existential, if you will, in nature, compared to Rajas and Tamas. And of course, then therefore we have the term Sattva, and we have Suddha Sattva and Vishuddha Sattva, the pure existence, the pure existence. And that where the Sumedasa of the Bhagavatam and the worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes us, the whole other end of the religious spiritual spectrum. Vrindavan Bhakti on the one end, and Sumedasa in the form of Krishna Sankirtan and Kali Yuga, and on the other end of the religious spectrum, the Alpamedism, which is basically, you could take it out of the Hindu context, you can put it in any cross-cultural religious context. It's religion for things, worshiping God for things, for acquisition. Give me my daily bread, for example. And there are all so many forms of it. It's not something that really turns God on. You want things, and you're not a thing. The best things in life are not things. That's Gyan. So we move from karma to Gyan. And as I was saying this morning, karma is, and I'm saying tonight, Rajagun, and Gyan is Sattvagun. With Sattva comes happiness and knowledge, clarity of thought, and so forth. And this is the significant difference between karma yoga, for example, as a path, and Gyan yoga as a path. One is Rajasic, one is Sattvic, and Bhakti is Nirguna. That's why the efficacy, the power of Bhakti is considerable, because it has the capacity, obviously, to enable us to transcend the modes of nature. Sattva doesn't enable us to transcend Rajas, maybe Rajas and Tamas, but itself, no. In Karma Yoga, we have this transition between karma and the pursuit of things and the attachment to the action that begets things, if you will. We have this transition in Karma Yoga where there's some ingressive wisdom in the form of detachment from the fruits of one's action. So you have a mixture of karma and sattva, and it comes to sattva, and then one's capable of contemplative life, to sit in Gyan. But both of these streams, if you will, karma and Gyan, unto themselves, to use an example of mountain springs or from the glacier in Himalayas, these will not reach the Bay of Bengal, but the Ganges will. Ganges here in the example is, in the metaphor is Bhakti. And if those tributaries, karma and Gyan, meet with the Bhakti, then they can make it to the Bay of Bengal. Without Bhakti, it's not possible. These are after all the two tracks on which material life runs, Bhog and karma, two sides of the same coin. One side, the Bhoga side, the karma side, is I want things. Good things. I'm a good person. I only want good things. I only want good things for others too. And I just want the good things to last forever, and I don't want any of the bad things. But my attachment to the good things, as the Gita says, dukkha yonaivate, is the womb from which suffering is born. You get it, you're happy, but you can't keep it. You're sad, so sad. It's taken away by time. This is the nature of the world. So the Bhoga's acquisition is problematic. We're all renters. We want to own, but there's nothing for sale here. We're all renters, and there are no renters' rights here. Any time, without any notice, evicted. Got to find another house. It's disconcerting. So we may think, and this is the ploy, of course, in karma, that, well, there's a land where life is so long you can't fit the number in your iPhone, and there's no negative repercussions. It's heaven. You can go there, but it. Abrahma bhuvana loka punarvartinojna mamu petitu kunteya punarjanmana vidite. Krishna says, but you can go there even to the Brahmalok. What to speak of heaven? Even to the Brahmalok, which makes heaven look like a wink, moment, a blink of an eye. These are just numbers that make a point to us. If it's not eternal, it's problematic, because we want enduring life, enduring happiness. And interestingly, it comes from, not from attachment, but the first step in the direction of love is detachment. I shouldn't really say it like that. We make a step in the direction of love, and detachment will first show up. We take a step towards bhakti, and we naturally step back then from an exploitive, taking mentality. Bhakti is all about giving. We give to Bhagwan ourselves, not things. That's karma yoga. We give ourselves, and then we do the things that are pleasing to Bhagawan, like hearing and chanting, opening the temples and preaching centers, so on and so forth. This kind of thing. And we give ourselves, and when we give ourselves, what's happening? Then our identity is changing also. Karma yoga is kind of like hanging on to your identity. For example, within the Varnashram, which is an identity composed of the modes of nature. Bhakti is about disassembling that, if you will, deconstructing that, and spiritual ego, spiritual identity. And the basis of that is not an exploiting, taking ego, but a serving ego, a giving ego. So when you start to love Bhagawan, then you realize, oh, this is not pleasing to Bhagawan, therefore I don't do that. I give that up. This is our renunciation. Oh, that won't please Krishna. I won't please my guru. That's not favorable to bhakti. I will avoid that then. So renunciation comes as a byproduct of bhakti. But janayati ashu vairagyam jnanam chairoitukam vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojita. This should come quickly means first it should come. It will come quickly. You step in the direction of bhakti and detachment will come. Something that's difficult to attain through karma yoga and jnana. It's arduous, the practice, to become detached. But it's easy to become detached from a dime when you've got $1. This is the idea of bhakti. When you've got $1, who cares about a dime? These days, even a quarter. They're like, well, it used to be pennies. So anyway, acquaintance with the better thing enables us to leave the other thing very easily. So the point here being, janayati ashu vairagyam, jnana and vairagya are easily attained by bhakti, that otherwise, as paths unto themselves, are very difficult to attain, and they are insufficient in and of themselves. Any amount of acquisition or any amount of knowledge and sattva, insufficient to give us entrance into the nirgun, into the world beyond the gunas, to attain mukti, even what to speak of to attain bhakti, prema. They cannot give. Only if we mix some bhakti with jnana and karma will they be efficacious. That's why within the Varnashram Dharma, with all the gods that are worshipped and all the goddesses, there's a place for Vishnu too. Om Vishnu. That makes the whole thing work. I've given an example before this. Some of you may appreciate it. That what is bhakti within karma? When we were younger, and we got the opportunity to go to India, then the nearest market was the Loi Bazaar. Loi means wool. It was a wool market primarily. So you go to the wool market, you go to the shoe market, but in every market there's a couple of other stores that have other items. So there were some deity items, some japa guy, somebody selling mukuts, crowns, and so forth. Of course, we went right there. And the Loi Bazaar, the wool market, became, Bhakti Bazaar. That was the main commodity then. So all these Western people were coming there with bundles of money that they collected all year long to spend on Kishori, on Radha Govinda, with their whole year. Some temple presidents saving up, and these guys and gals are going out raising money and fighting with the BBT. They want to keep some for their deities and give some for book publishing and get to Vrindavan and then lay out, $10,000 for the deity. I mean, it's astronomical numbers from the shopkeeper's point of view. So there we were, and then you come back the next year, or the following year, and some shopkeepers got a picture of Prabhupada in the shop. Hey, they love Prabhupada. Let's shop there. This is how bhakti appears in Varnashram. Well, if by worshiping Vishnu I can get there, okay, then I'll do it. Something like that. So they didn't have real bhakti for Prabhupada. But in the end, they did have some appreciation. He made, even materially speaking, and this is the power of bhakti. He made their lives so nice. You know, it's nice for me. I mean, I haven't gone in years now, but I used to go, and I remember first going, and I've seen like a couple generations. The son's now the grandson is now sitting, chewing pan and selling, you know, shutters or whatever may be the case, right? So his son there, saw him passed away, heard about it, and so forth. And when Prabhupada was taken through the streets in his samadhi group, if you will, they put him on a palanquin and every shopkeeper, man, woman, child, on the, you know, and it was named entrance Bhaktivedanta Marg to Vrindavan, on the Delhi Road. So much appreciation they had. What he did was so incredible. We're so blessed to have his good, to be part of his grand mission. We should try to understand it deeply and be. Who made us very, very intelligent. So the karma marg and the gyan marg, within the karma marg, there's a little bhakti. Then the karma marg will be successful in terms of giving you good karma and good things, attaining heaven and so forth. And if there's a little bhakti in gyan, you can get mukti. And conversely, what is the verse? There are people, the Bhagavatam says, they think they're liberated. Muktamanina, it means jivan mukta. In this life, all the karma is finished. All the aparabdha, unseen karma has been destroyed. Only the parabdha karma in the form of the body, disposition, is still there. They're not reacting to it in a way to be plugged in and continue it, and the jnani is waiting for it to dissipate of its own course, because jnana does not have the power to cure a cold. In other words, it can't stop the karma that's already in place. It's already going on. Like when you get a cold, what can you do? You just got to, wait 6 days or a week. Half a dozen of one or 6 of the other, and it'll be gone. So the prabdha karma has to play itself out. So the jnani, jivan mukta, hasn't got videha mukti, hasn't entered into Brahman, if Brahma Sayuj is his ideal, for example. But he's, for all intents and purposes, liberated, waiting for the parabdha to end. Conversely, I should say, the power of bhakti is very clearly mentioned throughout the scripture, that has the power to even destroy the parabdha karma. It must. You have to understand properly, especially in the bhakti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The parabdha karma, let's say, okay, so you can say, for example, okay, what's an example of your parabdha karma? What's your mother's name?
Mine?
Yeah.
Edith.
Okay, so you're the daughter of Edith, right? You can't change that, can you? You can't. You're a devotee. That's your parabdha karma. I'm the daughter of Edith and whoever your father's name is, right? That's just your reality. You can't change that. So how can bhakti change your parabdha karma? Okay, karma that you're due, that you're not getting, or you're just getting a partial form of it, but you were born in a certain family, that's your karma. But bhakti has the power to change that. That's very incredible. That happens in Bhava Bhakti. Because in Bhava Bhakti, one stops thinking entirely, I'm the son of Edith. You think, I'm from the family. In a general sense, you think, Mother Yashoda is my mother. Kirtida is my mother. From Radha's side or Nanda Maharaj's side, these are the two main families in the Braj. Then the idea will be refined in time also, because those families are extended in so many ways. Some say that the Dwadasa Gopals, the 12 principal Gopals and the Astasakis, they're all from the Radha's side, because Rishabhanu had, 4 brothers? Brihad Banu, this Banu, that Banu, and another Banu. And they had 12 sons and 8 daughters, and all on that side. When you see Gopakumar, for example, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he enters into the Leela as Sarupa. And Krishna takes him home to the house for breakfast. Big breakfast feast. And Krishna's eating the ladus. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, who made this? And he throws it on Sarup's plate. Oh, and Sarup doesn't know what's going on. Nanda Maharaj is like, what? Somebody put salt in the ladus instead of sugar? And everybody, so Radharani's the main cook there, and so forth. And so Krishna looks at Sarup, so Sarup doesn't know what to do, so he starts eating it, and it's like nectar. And then he realizes, this is Krishna's playing a joke here, and he's indicating that he's mad at me because he's mad at Radha. He's pretending. So he's mad at me because I'm from the family of Radha. So, I'll go home tonight and follow Sridham to that side, and I'll find my parents there. Something like this. So in Bhava Bhakti, in this world, this starts to happen. And you actually find new parents, if you will, a new form. So you have to stay in the world. Bhava Bhakti means mukti. If you're liberated. Still you're in this world. Not like the jnani, waiting for your prarabdha karma to dissipate. Now you've got, Krishna has given you a situation in the body. As I said, that sadhaka deha becomes spiritual. We say we're not the body, true. In another sense we say, I am the body. I am the body my guru has given me, and I take good care of it. And so to this extent I will try to improve the material condition. I will tolerate everything, but I'll also create a favorable situation for myself, for bhakti. And I'll tolerate within the context of that. I won't go look for things to tolerate. There's plenty of them. Whatever situation you create. But there's some scope for creating a good situation, improving the material condition, taking care of your health, your body, your psychology. Sattvic disposition will be conducive to spiritual practice. Sattvic disposition is arguably a psychologically well-balanced condition. You can understand the teaching better, apply yourself more fully, and so forth and so on. Yeah. So again, we're back to the beginning. A little scope for material improvement is there within reason, within the context of a larger worldview, that my goal is not just material improvement, but to enter the abode of Krishna. This is Sudameta, very intelligent. And so what happens is this, again, the sadhaka day undergoes a transubstantiation. And when he enters into bhav, it's like the example is given, mixing the mercury with sulfur. Has a certain result, but it doesn't happen right away. They're a little difficult to mix. How do you mix anything with mercury? It's like, ever seen mercury? It's like, whoa, that thing knowing what it's doing, So to try to mix something with mercury is difficult. So the transubstantiation of the antakarna, the chitta, buddhi, manas, and ahankar, the subtle body, it takes place gradually by bhakti sanskar, by association with all of you like this. I get this bhakti sanskar. And by chanting, hearing, it takes time. It's like trying to mix sulfur with mercury. It's a little difficult. Mercury kind of squirts away, but eventually you keep at it, it happens. And bhava, which is bhakti proper, takes over the antakarna, of the devotee. And so Prabhupada would call it a spiritualized body. The sadhaka deha, you are that body. And when you use your sadhaka deha properly like this, then internally you get a siddha deha. Internally. Then you've got your parents, and as I say, and so the karma is, prarabdha karma is just an example of prarabdha karma is destroyed in Bhava Bhakti. One is Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Taivim Prakritim Ashrita. This kind of person, as the Gita says, moving in the world. He's a Mahatma, she's a Mahatma, a great soul. Doesn't mean that their Atma got bigger and bigger. Qualitatively, but quantitatively, but qualitatively it got bigger. It became a giver rather than a taker. It became uncovered by the taking, by this ultimatus, the small-mindedness of things. I want God for things. And God's thinking, I'm not a thing, you're not a thing. But you want things. Okay. The beauty of Krishna, of course, is that he'll give you things in such a way that you'll lose interest in due course. So, but ultimatus means a small mindedness, and they want things. A little bigger intelligence is I want to get away from things. That's gyan. So again, these are the two tracks on which the world runs. Bhog and tyag. Karma means bhog. I want to acquire. So to acquire, I have to exploit the world and others. I have to see others as objects of exploitation that I can take, so that because I think by taking, I'll become more full. I'll agree to give if there's something in it for me. And because I'm under the illusion that by acquisition, I'll become more complete. We want to be pleasured. We want to be secure. We want to be, what would be another term?
Virtuous.
Virtuous. This is tamas, rajas, this is sattva, this is sat, chit, ananda, similar ideas. But what we come to understand, if we're fortunate, is we are virtuous. We are a unit of virtue. We are a unit of ananda. We are a unit of being that can't die. We want security. We want sat. That means from rajas. We want pleasure. To be pleasure. That means from tamas in this world. Instead of being sat, we're pursuing rajas. Instead of being the unit of pleasure that we are, Atmaram, Atmananda, we get it through tamas. What a distorted idea. And virtue through sattva, sat, chit, and ananda. So that we are, and as such, as a unit of sat, chit, ananda, that has the capacity to identify with matter, or Maya Shakti, or the Krishna Swarup Shakti, which Bhakti is manifested of, we have the capacity to have ingress of Bhakti into ourselves, which makes our capacity for Ananda, for loving, and for being, and for knowing, increase exponentially. Just like loving, okay. Loving the self, Atmaram, Atmananda, just means you have no desire to take. You're self-satisfied. But where's the giving? If Ananda means the capacity to love, there has to be another. There has to be a consciousness other, not a material other. And this is the idea of Bhagwan and Bhakti. And so our capacity to love really is fully played out as a unit of Ananda, only in connection with Bhagwan, not with Brahman even, not with Paramatma. That's for Gyan, Paramatma for yoga, Bhagavan for bhakti. But to get Gyan, to get Brahman, to get Paramatma, you need some bhakti in your yoga, you need some bhakti in your Gyan. Because again, Gyan and karma, these are two sides of the same coin. It's the way the world works. I enjoy the world, or I try to get away from the world because it's frustrating. I tried to enjoy, I got what I wanted, I got a Prince Charming, and he turned into a couch potato, or worse. A bum. Ah. So I gotta get away from it. So the focus in both karma and gyan is the world. To exploit it, to take it, or to get rid of it, get away from it. The focus in bhakti is otherworldly. It's dedication to Bhagwan. And in the context of dedication to Bhagwan, there's some taking. If it's favorable for bhakti, I will take it. And I will say yes, and I will honor the Mahaprasadam. And if it's favorable for bhakti, I will give it up. Something else. So I said Jnana and Karma are harmonized in bhakti. These streams, if they enter the Ganges of bhakti, then they'll be fruitful. Otherwise, unto themselves, they won't. So, on one end of the spectrum, you have the Sumedasa, this idea of Chaitanya Bhakti, to enter into Vrindavan Dham. It's a very high idea. On the other end of the religious spectrum, you've got this Alpamedasa, small intelligence. I want things. And for worshipping the things, forgetting the things, we worship the different gods and goddesses. That's why Prabhupada says you shouldn't worship the demigods, because not that they aren't worshipable in some way, and they are Sakama devotees. They're devotees with desires, some type of devotees with desire. We have great regard for them. It's not like if Brahma walked in, we go, "Hey, you're a demigod, get out of here." Or if Indra came and said, "Kick that guy out of here," he's a demigod. I went to Malaysia once, and I was held over there for a couple of days, and one of my godbrothers had told me that there was a very good South Indian run vegetarian restaurant there, and that the owners of the restaurant were very sattvic, and so it was a place where you could get a good meal in Thailand. So I went there, and I happened to meet the owners. They were telling me how they got the place and the store, and they were talking to me, and I was talking to them about bhakti, and they said, they were all Shaivites. The whole group of them were Shaivites. And so as we went on with the conversation, they said, "You're a little different." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, there were some other guys here, and from similar to you, and every lecture they just criticized Shiva." They just criticized because they knew we were Shiva, so they could say nothing good about Shiva. So we ended up getting a hold of the government and having them kicked out of the country. This was their preaching. Demigod worship is bad, I said, Gaudiya Vaishnavism really has a wholesome approach to the matter. Indeed, there's nobody flatters, gives Shiva, for example, a more flattering position than the Gaudiyas. We've got him right at the gate of the Rasa Leela, Gopishwar, watching who's going to come in and who's not. And Bhakti Rasamrita is described as being in Dasya Bhakti mixed with Sakya. And also gets a Gopi Bhava, a Gopi Deha. And it'd be a high compliment. Shiva would say, "Oh, you're saying that about that about me." That's a real compliment. Vaishnavana Mitha Shambhu. This is Bhagavatam. But Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. It's a little bit hyperbole, but because one thing is Shiva, one thing is Gopis, and Gopas, but Ramanuja, Madhva, they wouldn't enter Shiva temple. Mahaprabhu went to all the Shiva temples. Brahma's the leader of our, Sampradaya, we call him. We make him he becomes a devotee in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And so we regard all the demigods. So when we say that we, don't worship the demigods, it means don't be on the karma marg for material acquisition. That's less intelligent. Otherwise, we have other examples. The gopis are worshiping Katyayani. And what was their reason? They wanted to get Krishna as their husband. So in Golok, the worship of the demigods are all devotees there, of course, and goddesses and so forth. So you want to have a wholesome, picture and notion of not to just grab onto something and, they're, weak faith needs an enemy. The demigods are bad. Okay, so we just rail against the demigods whenever we get the chance and so forth. This is not good. So there's a place, big place for regarding the devas and so on and so forth. And all their names, while they've in Vidyabhushan, the respected, venerable author of the Govinda Bhashya, says that all the names of the demigods are all names of Krishna. All the virtues that the names correspond with, all those virtues are in Krishna. We say, Sarvadeva Maya Guru, Acharya Mambijaniyam, Krishna says, in the Guru, I am all the demigods, virtues are there and so forth. So we just kind of, instead of worshiping Krishna's qualities here and there, we put them all in one package. It's a streamlined and more efficient method of worship. And you take Brahma Samhita, which Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev found, the 5th chapter of it, said through the pen of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. All the Siddhanta is found here. And there's prayers to Ganesh there, to Shiva, to Devi, and so forth. All in context. And Govindam Madi Purusham Tamaj. I worship Brahma, Shiva, Ganesh, who has this, what does he have? The elephant's head and
2 nodes.
nodes.
Krishna's got his feet on them.
It says what?
Tripurari.
Yeah.
Feet of Lord Nishimadev on his head.
He has Krishna's feet on his head, right?
Yeah,
It's-
Nishimadev, yes.
I don't think in the verse it doesn't say it, but in maybe Jiva Goswami's Tika commentary. So this is the special quality of Ganesh, which you want to know about. Ganesh. Ish means Isha, God, and Gana means the common people. Common people want things, so you put the head of Ganesh there, and the quarterback, the famous quarterback that won the Super Bowl, he's famous, from New England,
Brady.
Tom Brady. He's got a Ganesh in his locker. I think it was his locker. He's got a Ganesh there. I heard. His wife is down in Costa Rica, so my students know her. They want to introduce me. She's building a yoga retreat down. She's a Brazilian model. Just a side piece of information. But the common people want things, material acquisition. They want to win and not lose and so forth. So he is the God for them. However, that said, he has, as the Brahma Samhita describes, a special connection at the same time. He, the son of Shiva, and he worships Nrsingadev as his deity. Nrsingadev now is the destroyer of obstacles on the path of bhakti. Bhakti Vigna Vinashana. His day is coming this weekend. We're having a festival for that, right? So he destroys obstacles on the path of bhakti. Ganesh typically destroys obstacles on the path of karma, so that you can get the things that you want. But there's a place, and this is mentioned in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu also, for worshiping Ganesh in consideration of the fact that he's a devotee of Nrsingadev, and with that kind of conception and full information and knowledge, then we see him in that light, and we appeal to him. You are a devotee of Nrsingadev. Nrsingadev is the destroyer of the obstacles to bhakti. You are the destroyer of material obstacles. Can you ask your deity to help us out here and destroy the obstacles to bhakti? And so, I mean, generally we tend to worship Nrsingadev directly, but there's something to be said for worshiping that which is tadiya, which is dear to Nrsingadev. Ganesh is an example, so something like that can be thought of. But overall, as I say, there's a place for intelligently regarding the gods and goddesses, and then there's a place for being a very small intelligence and just wanting material acquisition. Does that help? Yeah. Ganesh Ji. Good job. Jai. So, what's the time? 8?
Hey,
You have a question?
I think it's going to be a long answer. In any case, this Thai Baba, I understood from something that I believe it was you who said, or maybe I misunderstood, I'm not sure, that depending on the shelter, as far as shiksha one is getting, the study bhava of an individual may change according to the predominating study bhava of the mentor, so to speak. Am I off track?
No, not entirely. Sthayi bhav by its nature doesn't change, but what our sthayi bhav will be determined by our association. And so you may have different associations over lifetimes, and association, you may have association with Gaudiya Sampradaya, for example, which is so prominently influenced by Madhurya Rasa, is the main window of opportunity that it affords. By Nityananda Prabhu's presence, also influenced Sakya Rasa, is also a window of opportunity there. So before the sprout, before the sprout of bhava, then what your sthayi bhava will be can be changed by association. In other words, let's say you associate prominently with a great devotee, or he thinks about you, or something like that. She thinks about you, someone blesses you, like Narada blessed Prahlada in the womb. You'll get a samskar, bhakti samskar, for that kind of bhakti. So whatever that devotee has. Then, but in the next life you may be initiated by somebody. Let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. Someone meets Prabhupada, is influenced by Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is exuding this Sakya Bhav. So they get a samskar for that. Comes naturally, and they start thinking, well, Prabhupada makes a cowherd boy. Where the idea comes from. Obviously it comes from the fact that he has that powerful influences in his life. So, but then let's say, you were initiated by Prabhupada, but then after the disappearance of Prabhupada, your bhakti has not developed very strongly, you've become wayward, and then you come under the association of another powerful devotee, let's say a Siksha Guru, and he is prominently influenced by Madhurya Rasa. And it's possible that you might have been initiated by Prabhupada, saw him a few times, and how long was he here? Was it 12 years or something like that? And then you could spend 50 years under the tutelage of a Siksha Guru, and learn so many things. And so then you may end up, for example, having a sthayi bhav of Madhurya Rasa. But this is before the sprout has actually come. Once the sprout has appeared, you're getting the fruit of your bhakti samskars, and that is going to be cultivated and taken to prema.
Isn't the sthayi bhava, though, something absolutely innate to the...
No.
It's not.
No. It's bhakti. Bhakti is constituted of the Sarup Shakti of Krishna. You are Tatastha Shakti. No, in the Gita it doesn't say, and it's eternal, is this, that, and it's also made up of Sarup Shakti. No. So this is by association. Now we have something inherent in us, which is ananda in our constitution. We have the capacity to love, but we need to meet Krishna, so to speak. It's like a chemistry. That's bhakti. Then the sthayi bhakti come. So the Tatastha Shakti is just that. Tata. It's like neither here nor there. The Tatastha Shakti has an inherent nature, and its nature includes the fact that it lends itself to nurture. And this is our experience materially also. We have a certain nature, and then we may be nurtured by an environment that will determine what we're like. So the same holds true for the jiva, the Tatastha jiva. It has a nature. It's Sat, Chit, Ananda. It has certain qualities. It has the qualities of, for example, it has the ability to experience Bhoktritva, enjoyment or suffering. And it has the capacity to have qualitative experiences. Gnatritva, it has the power of apprehension, of grasping something. Bhoktritva, Gnatritva, and what's the other one?
Willing?
No, I forget. Anyway, 3. Power to capacity to enjoy, capacity to apprehend, to do it, willing, yeah, do it. So, kartritva, to be a doer, be an agent of action, to have will. With all of these qualities of the jiva, these 3, they have no capacity to manifest or express themselves unless they're in touch with a particular environment. You can't be a doer if there's no environment where there's nothing to do. You can't enjoy or suffer if there's nothing to enjoy or suffer. You can't apprehend if there's nothing to apprehend. So the material environment provides the capacity for you to express qualities that are inherent in yourself. And similarly, the spiritual environment, bhakti, also provides that. So when we're in touch with the material environment, then we become a knower, a grasper, an enjoyer, and a doer, and we have a personality, all in relation to the material energy. With the ingress of bhakti, then all these things come out in relation to the bhakti environment. We have an eternal form, qualities, we taste the bliss of bhakti, and so on and so forth. We have will within bhakti, within the spiritual world. Jivas have will. Of course, their will is all tied to the Sarup Shakti, so it's all for the pleasure of Bhagavan. That's the meaning of Tatastha. It can exist on one side or the other side. So, and it means it has the capacity to be nurtured. That's part of its nature. So if it's not in touch with one of these environments, we call it spiritual suicide. Brahma Sayuja, for example. It can't be all that it could be there. It can be more of what it is in the material world, in one sense, than it is in Brahman. Although it's distorted and it's problematic. But with bhakti, then it can be all that it can be. So, no. Capacity to love is inherent, but how you will love Krishna depends on your association. Very clearly explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and so many other places. Now, once the bud of bhav comes, then that's not going to change. Therefore, it's said that if you make offense, serious offense, then your bhakti can be downgraded. It really means, I've thought about this for a long time, it really means that the bhav that you could have got by association, you will not get. Instead of getting dasi bhav, you'll get shanta bhav. If by offense. This is a rare kind of situation. It'll come up over the weekend, this topic.
Thank
So
you.
that's a short answer.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Today's the appearance day of Janava Devi.
Janava Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Nityananda Prabhu ki jai.
I was just wondering if you could say a little bit about her.
It'd be hard to say a little bit, man. We don't have time for another lecture. But of course, she was. She's the prominent, most prominent consort of Nityananda Prabhu, and thought to be an incarnation of Radharani's younger sister, Nanda Manjari. And Nityananda Prabhu, as I say, he very much wants to bring everybody to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of him we have Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because of him we have the Chaitanya Bhagavat. He's the inspiration behind these books. So he started the whole Gaudiya Sampradaya when he said, Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gauranga Namore Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Amar Pranre. Before the Goswami's books were ever written, and theology and everything, he said, worship Gauranga, chant the name of Gauranga, follow the teachings of Gauranga. Whoever does this is purchased by me. People thought, I want to be purchased by him. Wow, this guy's incredible. He was very, very, this is Ram Balaram, very bold, appearing in the world just to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he is in Sevaka Bhagwan, in Vrindavan. Krishna's personality of Godhead served, and Balaram is the personality of Godhead servitor. So following him like a shadow in every way, directly and indirectly, Krishna can't get away from Balaram. Right? He manifests as his bed, his umbrella, his Brahman thread, and in the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and so forth. So Nityananda Prabhu, like this, pushing everybody in that direction. His own associates began the Sampradaya. They began initiating in Bengal before anybody else. And they have these lineages of Sakyaras because that's his own personal influence. They're influenced by that. But when he passed away, and Janava, Anandamanjari, continued through Virabhadra, son of Janava and so forth. Then you have this Madhurya line coming in the line of Nityananda Prabhu. So she is a major contributor, if you will, of the dissemination of Madhurya Rasa directly. Nityananda Prabhu was doing it indirectly, and in the context of doing it, some Sakyabhava is also contagious as it is. It's caught and spread and so forth, and it's favorable by its very nature to Madhurya Rasa. In fact, it's an interesting point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has written in his commentary in Ujjwal Nilamani, that Sringar Rasa, which means Madhurya Rasa, takes the form of a Priyanarma Sakha. It's in Vrindavan, in order to bring out, make Madhurya Rasa possible, because Madhurya Rasa requires, because it's typically in its full expression exchanged between two people, between Krishna and one gopi. This is the classical, modern world is different, but between two, not between one and many at the same time. And so, unlike other rasas, it's peculiar about it. And so there have to be differences between gopis. There have to be jealousy, and I don't like this one and that one. All these intrigues have to come on. And the Priyanarma is involved in all these things. So it's just using it metaphorically. So Sringar Rasa itself, which is Madhurya Rasa, takes the form of a Priyanarma Sakha in Vrindavan. It's an interesting concept. So, at any rate, Janava was in the line of Bhakti Vinod. Bhakti Vinod comes in the line of Janava. And at the Keturi festival, when all the associates of Mahaprabhu kind of like got themselves together for the next generation, and kind of were dealing with his separation, then she was very much to do with overseeing the famous festival where 6 sets of deities were installed, Radha and Krishna, and sent to different parts, and just go out and spread the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is very prominent, and we seek our blessings. Is that enough for this evening? Janava Mata Ki Jai. Kisi Gaurava Madhava Ki Jai. Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Rakshak Shri Bhakti Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Bhakti Vinod Parivar Ki Jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Ki Jai. Vanchakaupaturujasya Kripasindhuye Vaschan Bhakti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Tripurari, Swami, Saragrahi.
Thank you very much.
We should go right away.
You got a big car out there. Are you guys living there? Where are you moving?
Pardon? In what context?
Sringar Rasa, identical as you said.
Oh, you did? Is she stuff that I forgot? She down in this area here? Or she's moving here Tuesday. She's moving here? Yeah. Well, like Rutherford. That's what it is.
In other context, it has
Oh, Haribo, my goodness, I don't recognize you. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So grown up, my goodness, you're like 25-year-old man now. Yeah, good to see you. After such a long time.
Yeah, it has.
I saw your mom today, by the way.
Yeah,
she was here. She was here.
Yep. Yeah, she's moving.
Yeah.
She's moving to Rutherford.
Oh, she's moving.
Yeah, she's
to
moving
this
here.
area.
Yeah, on Tuesday. So.
Very good. Are you moving here too?
I live here right now.
Oh, you live here.
I've been here for months. Yeah.